My thanks to Victor and also to Nick Robinson for inviting me to be part of this panel. Thank you all for being here to listen, and I'm sorry that I'm not able to be there in person, but I'm delighted to contribute to this panel because artificial intelligence and particularly remote sensing has been a very important part of the work that we've been doing on the Sargasso Sea. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Sargasso Sea itself, why it's important. I'm going to talk about the Sargasso Sea Commission and its work. And then you'll see when I show you the size of this ecosystem, this remote high seas ecosystem, which is 2 million square miles, why we need quite the state of the art remote sensing and also the AI inputs from the telemetry, etc. We have a number of partners who've been working with us closely. We did take part in the Millennium Odyssey process, but we have established partners who've been helping us with this process, and that particularly NASA, and they have a custom developed pilot project called Coverage, which I'll say something about in a minute, which actually uses the Sargasso Sea as a pilot, and is using all the data that they've been able to gather on oceanography, and then combining it with other data as well. We also have a key partner as Global Fishing Watch. Paul Woods has been working with us very closely for some years now, and they've been very generous in their sharing of the data that they have. And then the final, in many ways, most crucial partner to us is the Duke University Marine Geospatial Ecology Lab. Professor Pat Halpin directs, who've been working with us since 2010, actually, and are going to be putting together this into a custom-built portal to actually help us with the governance aspects. And then I'll finish with a few words about the large grant we just got from the Global Environment Facility, which enable us to do this in a more systematic way. So why is the Sargasso Sea important? Ecologically and legally, really. It's from an ecological point of view, it's a unique open ocean, sargassum-based ecosystem. The sargassum, a weed itself, algae, is holopelagic, which means it reproduces by fragmentation without contact with the bottom. So it's the only sea without coasts, although Bermuda nestles in the middle. And it's important to the life history of many species. The European and the American eels, Anguilla rostrata, the anguillid eels, are catadromous. That means they live their life, most of their lives in fresh and brackish water, and then they migrate for reasons we have no understanding of at all, or how they do it, or where they actually spawn in the Sargasso Sea, or certainly in the Gyre, and then die, and then the little guys find their way home. So this is an amazing feat of nature, which we really know very little about. Similarly, a number of species of endangered sea turtles use a sargassum for the famous lost years when they're growing up as a nurturing habitat. Also important for tunas, billfishes, sharks, etc., particularly the poor beagle, which pups in the Sargasso Sea. We can see that it's important from this as a graphic representation, which shows not only the uses, there's probably figures are a little bit out of date now, this is some years old, and particularly eel values are much higher than indicated here, but it also has importance. It's important for the ecosystem services it provides. From climate point of view, the sargassum is obviously a carbon sink, and you see here the first good picture of it. You can see that this is the anticyclonic gyre of the North Atlantic subtropical gyre, which collects plastics and garbage as well as sargassum. So it's an important system from that point of view, and also showing some of the impacts of human activities. But from a legal point of view, it's also important because it's one of the last great gaps in the management system at a regional level. We have tuna commissions that cover pretty well the whole ocean. So ICAT, the International Commission for the Conservation of Atlantic Tunas, covers both North and South Atlantic, but most of the FINAS only covers tunas and tuna-like species. But for other species, particularly deep sea species and the more general species, there is no regulatory environment south of 34, is it, near the Bermuda. So here in Northwest Atlantic, we have NAFO, the Northwest Atlantic Fisheries Organization in dark, and to the right, NEAF, the Northeast Atlantic Fisheries Organization. Those are the high seas regulatory areas, but nothing beneath that. until you get down to the Southeast Atlantic. There is currently a proposal for another organization which is advisory to take over the responsibilities of this area, but they've been talking about that for some time. So the Sargasso Sea project really has isolated an area, a core area of the Sargasso Sea in the western basin of the North Atlantic, west of the mid-Atlantic ridge here, which I'm just pointing out, excludes the EZ of Bermuda, and this rather strange shape is actually 2 million square miles. So led by the government of Bermuda, the idea of this project is to achieve international recognition of the importance of Sargasso Sea, which I think we're actually well on the way to doing if we haven't done it already, and then to work with its existing organizations, the so-called fragmented system, to put conservation measures in place and to sort of learn lessons from whether it can be done or not. Our first real success here is 2014, where we had 5 governments sign the Hamilton Declaration on Collaboration for the Conservation of Sargasso Sea. Sylvia Earle was one of our ambassadors for that, the head of our previous steering committee. We now have 10 governments that have signed this: the Azores, the Bahamas, Bermuda, BVI, Canada, the Cayman Islands, Dominican Republic, Monaco, UK, and United States, and also a number of governments that are fellow travelers: Netherlands, Sweden, South Africa, but also France, which is financing one of our major activities, and together with other observer organizations. Fairly lean structure, a meeting of signatories. Now, since under COVID, we've been meeting more regularly than we have in the past. Sargasso Sea Commission, which is made up of volunteers who serve in their personal capacity, and then the lean and mean Sargasso Sea Secretariat, which is basically me and Faye, and financial mechanism to support that. Role is to exercise a stewardship role for the Sargasso Sea, keep its health and productivity and resilience under review, and to develop a work program for its conservation. Those are our members from Bermuda, the UK, Bahamas, Canada, the US, and from the UK and Canada as well. And the threats are pretty well the same as everywhere else. Climate change really should come first, and ocean acidification, but pollution, discharges and spills, plastics, fishing. We've seen increases in fishing, I'll show you later. Maybe sargassum harvesting, possibly deep sea mining on the mid-Atlantic ridge, and maybe underwater cables. So with the help of Ocean Mind, we did actually get some figures on AIS data on fishing activity in the Sargasso Sea. 2010, it seemed to be fairly light, but we're going to seeing a gradual increase in fishing activity. This is 2014, 15, and 16. So already increases, and it's not only just the volume of it, but also moving increasingly towards Bermuda, towards the center. And this is from 2018. This is these figures from a figure from Global Fishing Watch, which shows that whereas quite a substantial amount of activity to the east, but also to the west. This here is probably the billfish, swordfish, US swordfish fleets here, but this is unexplained. We don't know really. We know the nationality of the vessels, but not what they're catching. Similarly, other human activities, major human activities of vessel movements. So here, this is a AIS snapshot from 2012, 1 month's activity. You can see that the major routes, North Atlantic, it's across the North Atlantic from Europe to the US, and you can see these go into the main ports in the US, but also down to the Panama Canal. And these are evidence that this is increasing. You know, that there's been a threefold increase in vessel traffic since 1990, and there's been a major increase in the Atlantic because of the widening of the Panama Canal. So you can see this beginning to happen here in these pictures. You can see these routes are fairly well established as well, the red areas. And then this is also thanks to Global Fishing Watch in snapshot of 1 month in December of 2018, vessels over 100 meters long, which are pretty big. This is a remote area of the ocean, so it's quite staggering the amount of activity there actually is. So our partners in the remote sensing part of the activities really are NASA, as I indicated, this in-kind partnership. It has the support of the Committee on Earth Observation Satellites, CEOS, which means it has the support of other space agencies as well. And its phases include, in the future now, include tagging animal, introduction of data on tagged animals, fishing and shipping information based on AIS. So this is really state of the art. You see a tremendous tagging event there. And you can see here, won't spend too long on this, but you can see the Sargasso Sea is one of the, it's not even possible, we are the key partner on that. Global Fishing Watch I already mentioned. This is a wonderful operation. Their big business model I love, which is to gather as much information as they can and to make it available to everybody in an easy format. And they've been tremendous partners in helping us to access and the best information in the easiest possible way. And then, as I said, DUPE, the Marine Geospatial Ecology Lab, led by Professor Pat Alpin. They have a number of projects. One is the famous one is MICO, the Migratory Connectivity Project. It gives you some idea of the importance of the North Atlantic. And they're looking at this at a basin scale, but they're also doing a lot of modeling, which will show, so we're introducing the animal movements and to help us with making governance decisions as we move forward. And there's one great example is the humpback whales, which migrate through the Sargasso Sea through Bermuda as well, and the winter in the Caribbean, like many tourists, and then they return to the cooler waters in the summer. So this is running out of time, but a short couple of slides about the project, which is now financed by the Global Environment Facility. The UNDP is the implementing agency, and UNESCO's Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission is the executing agency. It's a $3 million project. And what we're doing is basically an ecosystem diagnostic. So we're collecting as much information as we can as a baseline on the Sargasso Sea ecosystem. So using all this remote sensing data that we've just been talking about, and then we use that as the basis for developing a roadmap. How would we move then towards an ecosystem-based approach to governance and conservation of Sargasso Sea, this huge 2 million square mile ecosystem, high seas ecosystem, and then a strategic action program to define what we actually need in terms of management and associated priorities, and of course knowledge management is part of that. So I'm sorry I can't answer questions as I'm probably still in bed, but thank you very much for your attention.